right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another video podcast of Political News Time, hosted by yours truly, Alex Mayers. And I'm hoping that everyone has had a wonderful weekend. I most certainly have. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, you really should. My Twitter address is at Alex Mayers Live, because I just downloaded this app that is trending. It's called Face App AI. Everybody should download this, and I'm going to tell you why. It has a feature on it that allows you to see what you would look like as the opposite gender. Okay? So it varies in how the artificial intelligence works on it. You know, you might look different in different lighting. I did it twice and it came up with almost completely different results for me each time. But if you guys want to see what I would look like if I was a guy, you now can see it if you follow me on either Facebook or on Twitter. So I thought that was fun. But let's see, what do I want to talk about tonight? Let's see. And remember, if you do want to check out the archives of this podcast, all you got to do is pop on over to politicalnewstime.com. Let's see. I think let's keep talking about race. Let's talk about race because we have the whole Black Lives Matter thing going on. I know a lot of you watching me may have questions about it because, hey, maybe you're not black. Or maybe some of you just want to talk about the Black Lives Matter thing because you are black. I don't know. I don't know. But we can talk about whatever we want on here because, we're over here on Periscope. So it is what it is. Okay, here's something that we can talk about. Let's go back to our conversation from yesterday when I was doing the test run of my broadcast for Political News Time since I just relaunched this show. Let's talk about Candace Owens. Candace Owens recently did a speaking engagement to where she was addressing an auditorium full of what appeared to be African Americans who were giving her such a hard time. And I swear, if you are a young African American black individual in this country at this moment, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you really need to listen to Candace Owens, if only for an alternate perspective to what you believe you already know.
I would say the first thing is that it's important to identify what our agenda actually is. And I think that the most important thing for people in this room to understand is that there is a very small window. Right now, the black vote is the most important vote in the country. There's a very small window before our vote's not going to matter. These conferences won't matter, and us sitting here won't matter, because illegal immigration, if you're looking at the numbers, every new birth in this country, 60% of all new births are Hispanic Americans, and the Democrats are about, listen, you're saying, let me get to the point. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with it. I say illegal is the new black because it's true, and there's a reason why they're advocating for open borders. Right now, our vote means a lot, but new births of black Americans have stagnated. The population growth within black America has stagnated. So the things that I pay attention to are the numbers. I pay attention to the birth rates in this country, which is why I'm pro putting something down to stop illegal immigration. The second thing that I think is really important, and you may have heard me testify in front of Congress, is the illiteracy rates that are facing black America. 75% of black boys in California can't pass a reading exam. Across Baltimore, they looked at 5 schools. They couldn't find a single black boy that was a single black child that could pass a basic reading or a math exam. So I caught a lot of slack because I said this is the Democrat plantation, but I meant what I said. If you look historically at what the plantations were when we were slaves, there were 3 things that were necessary for them to run. The first was our ignorance. Black Americans were not allowed to learn how to read unless we would have our limbs chopped off. And that was because an educated mind cannot be enslaved. So the fact that our schools are in this condition in the inner cities and all throughout America and not a single candidate is talking about it is problematic to me.
That young woman, I definitely don't agree with everything that she has to say, but she brings up so many interesting, thought-provoking points. One thing that she was saying is that Hispanic is the new black. She was saying that right now, African Americans have more voting power as a small group than possibly ever before, which is why so many politicians are essentially pandering to us. Because it's crazy the way it's going about. I mean, what Nancy Pelosi has been doing as of late is, we're not going to talk about that this podcast. But she was saying that in a few years, Hispanics will be the new black and they will have the voting power that we do today. But here's the thing. In the future, and I wonder if Candace has ever thought about this or if she even wants this little tidbit out there. In the future, a lot of Hispanics will be African Americans' descendants. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. If you have taken a look at the recent census forms in various states within the United States of America, in the past, the options that you had for race were black, white, Hispanic, Asian, and other. Okay? In 2015, that expanded.
The census has only recently allowed this population to self-identify as black and white, Hispanic and black, white and Asian. Not too long ago, those individuals would fall into one catch-all category: other.
It was like the box. You always felt like other.
Kim Davis was born in the Bronx to a German mother and an African-American father.
Black and Hispanic. Here's what's funny about that. Hispanic is not a race. Spanish is a language. Why in America we have viewed Latinos and Hispanics as a race is beyond me. Because it's not. If you go to Brazil, actually Brazil, they speak Portuguese, so let's try again. If you go to Mexico, you will see people who look as white as Donald Trump. You will see people who look as black as Michelle Obama, but they're speaking Spanish. You'll see people who look like they're in between. Enrique Iglesias, Geraldo. But they're all speaking Spanish. And when they come to America, should they choose to come to America, they say, okay, we're Hispanic now. But if you were to do an ancestry DNA test on them, the Michelle Obama looking person from Mexico would obviously be of African descent. The Donald Trump looking person from Mexico would obviously be of European descent. And the person who's in between likely has some sort of indigenous ancestry, which most likely would be classified as Asiatic. But Hispanic's just not a race. But I'll tell you what Hispanic is in America. It's your exit from being black, should you elect to not be black anymore. A lot of people who are around my age have a memory of there seemingly being a lot more black people when we were younger than there are right now. Why would that be? Are they all, did they all get abducted by aliens? No. Were they kidnapped? No. Did they leave the United States? No. Are they all in prison? That's questionable, but no. But I'll tell you what did happen. Quite a few either started passing or have decided not to classify themselves as African American anymore. A lot of people, they may say to themselves, oh, well, isn't that self-hating if you're black and you were classified as black when you were a child and you decide that suddenly you're going to transition or pass as something else? Not necessarily. Because look at how African Americans are treated in the United States of America. I mean, let's look at what the Black Lives Matter movement, that this huge influx in Black Lives Matter stems from. What did it stem from? Police brutality against an African American male, George Floyd. Yes. Now, I personally am not with the defund the police situation. Not at all. I don't even personally feel like that should have been attached to Black Lives Matter. But it's difficult to be black in the United States of America, especially a black male. You know, when I did that AI face app or face app AI a little bit earlier, and I saw myself as a black male, I thought to myself, damn, I would have been a good looking man. And then I thought to myself, wow, I wonder what my life would have turned out like if I was a guy. Maybe I'd either be running for president, or I'd be hoping that somebody soon would bail me out of prison. So let's take a break, everybody. Make a political statement without saying a word. Get one of my Barack Obama themed face masks. There we go. There we go. Because you never know, you might have to get out to a protest. And if you got to get out to a protest, you need to be able to cover your face. We're back. At the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about where have all the black people gone in America. A lot of them have transitioned to Hispanic. And we talked about how basically anybody in America could classify themselves as Hispanic because it's a language, Spanish. You know, all you gotta do is get that Rosetta Stone, become halfway proficient in the Spanish language. You know, who knows? Maybe you're gifted with languages and you'll just suddenly become fluent in Spanish. And then you just start listing yourself on the census as Hispanic. But yeah, you know, considering that it is so difficult to be African American or black in America, a lot of the younger generation, they're like, screw it. Why should I make life harder on myself if I can classify myself as something else?
I happened to me, be a bit of a freak show in that white people almost never suspected that I was anything other than white and Jewish. And black people almost never suspected that I was anything other than white and Jewish as well. I'm not ashamed to admit, as a 9-year-old in the 80s, I went with the path of least resistance. Passing for me was a survival mechanism. I could see the way the world treated black Americans, and I made a calculation. I do not want that for my life.
Also because of all the pressure in America through the media to be something else than what you are quite often, or just to elevate yourself socially in certain ways. A lot of young people are doing that. You know, a lot of young Asian American people, whether they are part of European descent or not, they're classifying themselves as being white and Asian or Eurasian. Absolutely. And a lot of that also has to do with the influence of the white male American. You have a tremendous amount of white male Americans who have imported wives from Asia. And they do not necessarily want their children as being only classified as Asian. They want to feel closer to their children. That's another reason why we have that choice now as being white or white and Asian, if that's what you are. Same with white and black. You have a lot of white American males who have opted to marry and have children with black American females, and they want to somehow socially, elevate their children, or at least create the illusion that they're socially elevated racially. That's another reason why that box is there. So that's where all the black people are going. That's where they've gone. That's where they've gone. And this has happened before. It happened before. A lot of people don't realize that part of the reason that slavery in the United States was abolished was because you had so many multi-ethnic people. There were quite a few tourists who came down from the north who were white, who saw what was going on down in the south due to the one-drop rule, And they were like, now wait a minute. These are some white slaves.
In 1863, abolitionist propaganda circulated in the US displayed pictures of mixed heritage children from New Orleans with very fair skin who were also born into slavery. Because under US law, slavery was a legal condition that was passed down from mother to child, these children, although they could pass for white or had what was considered very small percentages of black heritage, were still considered legal slaves. Northern abolitionists, fearing that support for the Civil War was waning as rich citizens were often exempted from service and poor white citizens were drafted at higher numbers, used the images of these children to elicit empathy and support for the abolition of legal slavery. These images were printed in Harper's Weekly and on small souvenir photographs called carte de visite. Abolitionists like Henry Ward Beecher stated that in addition to the great evils of slavery, situations like this, where white passing children could also be enslaved, should strike outrage and fear into conscientious white citizens. Because if these children, who looked so close to the appearance of the children of the predominantly white and middle-class abolitionist readers of Harper's Weekly, could be enslaved, then what was stopping free white children and their parents from being drawn into the treacherous clutches of slavery? The appeal was incredibly effective on anxious readers who noted that race, which had long stood as the primary determinant of slavery in the US, was not a foregone and concrete conclusion. If people who could pass as white were still enslaved, then the boundaries of legal protections based on race were fluid and fragile, making them more difficult to police.
I guess part of the reason I wanted to bring up tonight's topic was because I wanted to talk about a very beautiful young woman who, again, I don't completely agree with, but who I feel like if I had a daughter, it would be her, Candace Owens. Now, I'm sure if she ever saw this podcast and she saw me say that, she would be like, oh, hell no. My mother would not be an ex-sex worker. And she wouldn't be, I'm sure. But anyways, yeah. Candace Owens is my hero. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because of her current foray into politics. I don't believe that politics is actually where she's going to wind up in the future, though a lot of people seem to be pushing and grooming her in that direction, which does make sense because she's so damn smart. But she's also a threat when it comes to the world of economics and business, but also when it comes to politics and our society as a whole in another way. Candace Owens, even before she was known, created a groundbreaking project known as social autopsy. And it really pissed a lot of people off. If you ever have a chance, Google that. Google Candace Owens and social autopsy. Basically, Candace Owens thought along the lines that I do when it comes to having to take accountability for what you say and do on social media. A big problem I have with people on social media, especially today, is that they think that they can create these anonymous guises and come on social media or on the internet, whatever, and say and do whatever they want. They think that they can bully people however they want. They think that they can influence politics however they want. You know, we've had that problem when it comes to Russian bots or trolls, you know, people from outside the United States coming on social media to influence American elections. Maybe that's part of the reason why she had to put that project on the shelf for a while, actually. But I'm one of the people who thinks that you should have to put your face and your legal identity to your words. That's why I have absolutely no sympathy for anyone in the adult entertainment industry who thinks that they can work in that world and not have anyone know exactly who they are. Now, in the past, I did. In the past, I felt like I was victimized, actually, when my legal name was linked to my guise or my alias when I was active in the adult entertainment industry many years ago. But very quickly, I realized, you know what? Anything I do in life, I need to be willing to put my face and my legal name to. I need to take accountability for anything I do in life. And since I've had that mindset, my life has been so much better. Because it makes you think twice, maybe 3 times, maybe more, about things that you do or say. And I think that it adds to your character. I think it adds to your weight of who you are as a human being. It adds to your credibility, and it adds to the weight of your words when you're willing to put your face and your legal identity to what you say, what you believe, and how you feel. So I hope that at some point in time, Candace Owens picks up that project again, because I think that it's quite possible she had quite a few people over a barrel when it came to some bullying that she endured, some bullying that perhaps other people have endured, and just simply what it is to be a Black American woman in the United States of America with a public presence online. That is what actually makes Candace Owens one of the most dangerous people in America. That project that she did, Social Autopsy. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's podcast of Political News Time. Remember, you can always check out the archives over on pntlive.net or politicalnewstime.com. Also, you can catch me every night right here at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See y'all later. Bye-bye.